All right, thanks for joining us today. The incident that occurred on June 15th could have had a very different outcome, and we're grateful that this senseless shooting did not turn fatal. We're working alongside the state attorney's office, and I have Suzy Lopez here with me, the state attorney, and we're taking this incident and future incidents of this nature extremely seriously. So just give you a rough timeline about this shooting that happened. It occurred on June 15th at the West River Apartments in West Tampa. We responded to a report of a juvenile with 2 non-life-threatening gunshot wounds to his ankle and leg. We determined that this occurred in the West River Building apartment complex in the game room of the facility. We later realized there was a second teen victim at a nearby hospital who had a graze to his knee. Both victims and 6 other teens were hanging out in this game room, and none are known to live in this exact building here. Another group of teens entered that game room, at which time multiple members started to fire handguns and rifles. It doesn't appear that the second group that came in returned fire. I have a video, I'd like to show it, and then we can walk through it. You're going to see the game room in the video, and you're going to see the groups of kids, and you're going to see the gunfire actually occurring once they get it up and running. While they're getting it up and running, this investigation led to the arrest of a 15-year-old who had a pistol that was firing in this game room. Ready? This is a public area where families live in a game room. These are not toys, you can see right there. 2 were injured. Fortunately, no one else was hit. There's families and children in this area. This is adults, children acting like adults recklessly. So as I said before, this investigation led to detectives identifying the 15-year-old with the pistol and making the arrest on June 17th, 48 hours after this occurred. DeAndre Smith, 15 years old, he was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, shooting within a building, minor in possession of a firearm, and violation of probation. So I've asked State Attorney Suzy Lopez, who we have a great partnership, to come in and also speak.
Thank you, Chief. I want to begin first by thanking Chief Bercaw and his team for their dedicated work in this investigation. Unfortunately, this is not the first time in 2023 that we have seen a terrifying video like this one. It wasn't even that long ago that I stood before many of you talking about a teenager who shot at a group of other teenagers in Curtis Hickson Waterfront Park on the night of New Year's Day of this year. Families were ice skating in a nearby ice skating rink. You saw that video in the middle of March of this year, and now we're back. The fact is that more and more teenagers are getting their hands on guns and making poor decisions that are endangering not only themselves, but our community. This gun violence in the video that we just saw occurred in a game room, a place where children and adults are supposed to have fun, safely. This video shows us a teenager with an absolute disregard for human life. He fires his gun indiscriminately where children and families go to play games, and we're lucky that the 2 victims are alive today. Events like this can turn out much, much differently. I've consoled mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters in the 10 and a half months that I've been state attorney. I've consoled these people who've lost their loved ones to gun violence. Just this morning, I sat with a mom in the courthouse. Her 15-year-old son, Stevie, was killed on Thanksgiving night, and 3 teenagers were charged as adults in his killing. As a community, we must stand up and say enough is enough. When teenagers make adult decisions, like you saw in this video, they will not be treated like teenagers in the eyes of the law. As Hillsborough County State Attorney, I can tell you that my office will be using the tool that we have to address gun violence, and that tool is to prosecute the offenders. We will hold anyone, regardless of age, accountable for committing senseless acts of violence like you saw in this video. My office has a newly revamped, dedicated gun violence unit that targets prolific, repeat offenders. Every week, my team and I meet with law enforcement, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Tampa Police Department, to share information about our prolific offenders in an attempt to proactively address their behavior. I can't talk about specifics regarding this case, but I can tell you that age does not matter. If you have a gun and make a reckless decision to shoot at another person, you will not get a free pass in Hillsborough County based on your age. As we do in all cases like this, when moving forward, we will begin by talking to witnesses and reviewing the evidence. We will review the police report and make a final filing decision based on the unique facts of this case. We have an incredible law enforcement community here in Hillsborough County. They're dedicated to keeping our neighborhoods safe, and we thank all of our law enforcement partners for doing what they do. In Hillsborough County, we also have other partners. We have community partners from schools to religious organizations and mentorship programs who take active roles in providing positive outlets for teens, especially during these summer months when teens are not in school. We must all work together hand in hand to educate these teens about making smart, healthy choices so they don't end up in a courtroom or behind bars. Kids with guns making reckless decisions are a plague on our community, and they will be held accountable. Kids need mentors, education, summer jobs, a safe place to call home, and family support. Kids do not need guns. Thank you.
What the state attorney said is exactly what the police department feels as well, is any juvenile with a gun using it and shooting it is not getting a free pass. In less than 48 hours after this occurred, this juvenile was charged with serious crimes, potentially facing being charged as an adult. As the state attorney said, there's a plethora of programs out there. We've increased our PAL, our Police Athletic League. We have a stay-and-play summer program. The programs are out there, so what can you do? Secure your weapons. Where are we seeing weapons being taken? Out of cars still. Just so far, the year to date, with cars being weapons being taken out of cars, it's nearly 100 firearms that have been taken. On top of that, we have a project called Locked and Unloaded, free firearm locks that you can get at any one of our district offices. If you have a firearm in your house and it's not secured and not locked, then go to one of our police districts and get yourself a free lock that'll secure your firearm. We cannot let them get in the hands of juveniles. And any juvenile that sees somebody with a gun, they need to call us and let us know and not associate with them. So any questions?
Chief, take me through the connection with these teenagers, because you said they did not live at this apartment complex. Did any of them say, first off, why would they were there in the first place in the game room?
There's going through some of those we don't have ID'd, so that's also where we can use help. If anybody recognizes anybody in there or knows details, to provide us that. You can do it anonymously through Crime Stoppers or give us a call directly. That's what we're trying to do, is put all the pieces together. We do know that some kids lived in neighboring buildings under the same development, and some lived outside that area.
What's the connection? Do you know?
Right now,
Was it a rival?
we're working through that right now to figure out all those pieces.
They knew when the people were walking in that they were coming, or did they really just whoever was going to open the door and then get fired?
Again, we're working through that, but when you see it in the video, it looks like they knew.
You're expecting more charges and more arrests?
Yes, we are.
Do we know if this 15-year-old will be charged as an adult? Can you say that?
We will be reviewing all of the reports, speaking with all the witnesses, reviewing the evidence, and make a decision after we have gone through all of that. Thank you.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes,
you
sir. I'm sorry, yes,
stated-
ma'am.
You had stated that you guys are going to be even more tough, right? That these children are going to act like adults are going to charge them. Do you plan on each case moving forward when there is, not if, but when there is another shooting involving a teenager, do you plan to move forward and charge them with an adult, as an adult?
We look at every case on a case-by-case basis. We evaluate everything. That is something that I've said since day one, since I've been state attorney. So we look at every case, evaluate it, evaluate the age of the defendants, we evaluate the witness statements, the evidence, and make a decision on a case-by-case basis. We have an excellent juvenile division, which is where a case like this with a 15-year-old may likely start out, and we all work in conjunction with one another in making those decisions, whether to direct file to adult court.
We continue to see cases like this. We come to these press conferences. What do you think it's ultimately going to take to stop these teens from shooting each other? Just continues day after day.
We've got to get the guns out of the hands of people who are not supposed to have guns. I support the Second Amendment, but there is no scenario in which a 15 or 16-year-old is allowed to have a gun, or, of course, a convicted felon. The chief touched on something that is very important, and this right here is very important. Lock your cars. That is where the teenagers are getting so many guns. We see videos on the news all the time of a Ring doorbell where you see teenagers just opening up car doors. Lock your car doors. You don't want your gun stolen, and you don't want your gun on the street. That is where these young kids are getting guns. So that's the first step in tackling this plague.
For those who are who are not locking their cars and their guns happen to be stolen and used in the commission of crime, do those people face charges as well due to the fact that they're negligence, or is that just something that you will charge? Would you just charge the person who fired the gun versus the person who allowed it to be taken?
We'll look into any case that is referred to the state attorney's office for prosecution.
Chief, roughly how many people are you looking to possibly arrest in this case?
Right now, we've made one arrest. We have another arrest on the horizon coming. So anybody that's shooting or using a firearm, we hope to identify and make those arrests. But one's made and one's coming on the horizon.
I've got another question unrelated to this. Bercaw is going at a Tampa fire rescue regarding an agent they say is alleging he was a victim of some racism. Today we were told that's been handed over to TPD. Is there anything you can tell us about that investigation?
I've assigned my best detectives to look into that case, and we're taking that very seriously. And today our focus is on youth with guns.
Last question.
How many shooters were there, and are you still actively looking for the second shooter that was out there on the streets with this gun that was just running wild? What's the word on that?
We're working to identify them. I have one that's identified, that charges are pending, and the others we're asking for public assistance. If you see this video and you recognize somebody or know more details about it, to call us directly or through Crime Stoppers anonymously.
And Chief, back in January, we were here again. You had touted the $1.5 million grant for the Safe Neighborhood Project. We're almost 6 months fast forward to that. Where is that money going? Because that was the same topic. There are shootings. We need to get the guns off the street.
That's exactly what that money's for, is for things like this, and that's the part of that process. We're in phase 1 of that process, and when we get to phase 2, that's when the money will be distributed, but it's just for situations like this.
What's phase 1? What does that look like to the community who say, you say you got all this money, but we still have shootings happening?
Right. You have to go ahead and build into that and go forward and have somebody working on it and create the strategy. So phase 1 is building out the plan, and then phase 2 is the execution.
And what that plan looks like, to break it down for us?
I'll have my PIOs get with you on more specific details.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.